Do you think you know Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Well, here's some things you may not have known about the adventures of Henry Jones Sr. and Henry Jones Jr.
I told you! Don't call me Junior. Look what you did! I can't believe what you did!
Originally, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was titled Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. In 1984, George Lucas had written an 8-page treatment and an 11-page outline for this version of the film, and it involved Indiana Jones fighting a ghost in Scotland before finding himself traveling to Africa and finding the Fountain of Youth. Part of this script also had Jones ending up in the Garden of Immortal Peaches from Chinese folklore. The idea was abandoned as it cast African natives in an unfavorable and negative light. However, before even this rejected iteration, the film was supposed to revolve around a haunted mansion, but Steven Spielberg felt it was too similar to his other film, Poltergeist. The film saw numerous rewrites before the idea of a father-son narrative centered around the Holy Grail was chosen as the story to film. Interestingly enough, the original script for Indiana Jones and the Monkey King was leaked onto the internet in 1997 and was incorrectly marked as having been written in 1995, leading fans to believe it was the script for a 4th installment into the series. But we got that later, and there were some monkey scenes. The scene that took place in the semi-submerged catacombs features over 2,000 live rats. These rats were specifically bred for the film months in advance in order to ensure that the rats had no diseases and would not endanger the cast and crew. But in order to film safely, the rats had to be insured. Paramount Pictures was granted a policy by Fireman's Fund Insurance Company, ensuring that if more than 1,000 rats were lost, for whatever reason, they would be covered. Thankfully, all of the rats survived, as the rats that ended up being engulfed in flames on screen were actually prop rats that were rigged to swim independently from one another. Harrison Ford was actually fond of the rats on set as he grew up with rats as pets. However, the inclusion of rats kept the casting director's first choice for the female lead, Amanda Redman, from accepting the role, which Alison Doody ended up accepting readily.
My boy, we're pilgrims in an unholy land.
Costume designer Anthony Powell intensely studied photographs and video of Nazi uniforms in order to ensure accuracy in the film. He ended up procuring several authentic Nazi uniforms after conducting a thorough search of Eastern Europe. Some of these uniforms were used on screen.
Tickets, please.
Boss. No ticket.
From the outset of the film's production, producers knew that they wanted Sean Connery for the role of Indy's father. Initially, Connery was unsure of the believability of him playing Ford Sr., as Connery is only 12 years older than Ford. However, as James Bond was one of the original inspirations of the character Indiana Jones, producers were dead set on acquiring Connery for the role. Apparently, on set, Connery and Ford had impeccable chemistry and got along incredibly well. Of the experience, Ford said, quote, "It was just really great to work with an actor who doesn't give a shit. I don't mean about the craft, but about his ego. We just clicked."
Two selfless martyrs. Jesus Christ.
That's for blasphemy.
Originally, the famous motorcycle chase scene was not in the script. The scene was added after previewing the film. The preview audience loved it, and no one else in the crew felt that it needed anything else. Despite being well received, Spielberg and Lucas felt that the end of the second act was verbose and that the film lacked a certain something. They decided to film the motorcycle chase scene as a way to reinvigorate the last half of the film. It was shot during post-production at Skywalker Ranch. The scene in the Zeppelin is supposed to take place in the dead of winter, however, it was actually filmed in the unrelenting heat of Spain. In order to avoid sweating profusely, Connery took off his pants for the scene, citing that he would have to regularly stop to wipe his face if he otherwise kept his pants on. This allowed for longer takes of the conversation between Connery and Ford, who also joined in by filming the scene pantsless. Harrison Ford often mentions that The Last Crusade is his favorite of the Indiana Jones films, partly due to the diverse locations the film was shot in. He also loves the character development Jones undergoes during the course of the film, feeling that it added a certain sophistication to the series as a whole.
Junior, give me your other hand. I can't hold on.
I can get it. I can almost reach it, Dad.
Indiana? Indiana?
took 6 weeks for the temple set to be built. The entire thing was supported by 80 feet of hydraulics and 10 gimbals in order to simulate the earthquake near the end of the film. Between takes, the set took 20 minutes to resume its neutral starting position and for the production to refill the cracks that were supposed to appear with plaster. The scene in which the Holy Grail falls onto the floor and causes the first crack could not be achieved on the full-size temple set, so a smaller floor section was constructed to better control the shot. In order to get it perfectly, the scene had to be attempted numerous times. Spielberg ended up befriending the royalty of Petra, Jordan while filming there. He invited then-King Hussein bin Talal and the royal family to observe the film's production. For the final sequence in the film, the 4 horses were actually lent to Paramount by the king. And here's a bonus one. Walter Donovan was originally supposed to die falling in the tank, but during script revisions, his death was changed to take place near the film's end when he chooses incorrectly in the Grail room.
He chose poorly.
The Industrial Light and Magic team that worked on his death scene ended up calling it Donovan's Destruction. This scene is hailed as being a technological breakthrough in special effects, as it was the first scene to be completely composited with a computer and then scanned to film. Life-size puppets were used for the different stages of Donovan's decomposition and then strung together seamlessly with the assistance of a computer.
And what did you find, Junior?
Junior? Dad?
Please, what does it always mean? This Junior.
That's his name. Henry Jones Jr.
Like Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana.
That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Movies. Make sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get the latest movie and TV news on ScreenCrush.com.